Good afternoon, Louisiana, and welcome to another edition of Bayou Bets here on bet.NOLA.com. Zach Ewing, along with Jim Derry and Spencer the Guru, here with you on this Thursday afternoon. Another great weekend of football coming up. Baseball playoffs starting tomorrow. Lots to talk about. I got all these lights around me. I feel like I'm dark. Do I seem dark?
Yes, you do. But you've always been dark.
I don't know what the deal is. I have a dark personality. I got all these lights around me, and I don't know. So we are brought to you by Caesar Sportsbook, as always, and we invite you to get your first bet on Caesars up to $1,250 for new users. You lose your first bet, you get that money back in bonus cash, and you can bet it all over again. Go to NOLA.com/Caesars to take advantage of that offer. Also like to remind you, as we do every Thursday, we talk with Louisiana's own James Carville and get his picks. That is live for the new week on our Bayou Bets YouTube channel. So when we're done, you can click over there, give us a like, give us a subscribe, hit those buttons for us, and listen to what James Carville has to say. He was undefeated last week. He had 5 wins and a push out of his 6 picks. So maybe the man knows what he's doing.
I slipped him in a hat.
Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't go like empty the piggy bank on everything that he picked, but pretty good. He's also, guys, excited about LSU, and I wanted to start there today. I know we normally start with the Saints, but just in, I guess, like less than 36 hours here, we've got a huge game coming up at Tiger Stadium. LSU lost that opener to Florida State, and they've kind of flown under the radar a little bit since then, but you win this game, and LSU's legitimately in the SEC title race. They're 3-point underdogs against Tennessee, but not too bad.
Win this game, and maybe I'll believe. Until then, I'm not going to take all that much into. I mean, their best win, I think, is the Mississippi State game. But you get down 17-0 to a really bad Auburn team. I'm not all that impressed as of yet. So this is the game to me that I'll find out if they're really excited or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, and I we'll talk about it in big bucks, but I think I think they're going to win. I think LSU wins this game.
I know.
Spencer?
Yeah, I was like, I don't think they'll quite win it. I think they'll make it close. The spread there is kind of tough for me to pick a side, but I'm going to say that Tennessee pulls it out barely. They've got a good track record, like coming to Baton Rouge. I went back and looked at the ATS history there. They usually do, fairly well when they come to BR, but we all know BR is a tough place to play. So I wouldn't put a whole bunch on either side, but if I had to pick, I'd lean Tennessee.
I mean, I don't know that you can really look at past history. These teams play so seldomly.
I just look at for me. It's just I look at who they played, just kind of how they played, and I think LSU is gonna be good in a year or two. I think they're what I try to temper Tigers fans and alums enthusiasm with is this team is a work in progress. They're in rebuilding mode. I mean, no one from LSU wants to hear that you're in rebuilding mode, right? I mean, that's not what anybody wants to hear or talk about, but that's what they are. They're in rebuilding mode, and so. It's going to take a little while. I think Brian Kelly's done a hell of a job so far. I mean, I'm really impressed with what he's done. But, this is a litmus test. There's no doubt. But if they lose by 10 or 17, the chirping birds are going to be coming out, and that's not what this is about. It's about making progress, and they have to make progress. And if it takes some lumps and they get their butts kicked, it is what it is. And I think they are going to get their butts kicked this week. I hope I'm wrong because it's no fun when they lose like that. But I just don't think this team matches up well with Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, we'll talk more about it because it's on my daily best bets or my big bucks. We'll talk about it later in the show. But Tennessee is not the same team away from home. They're not the same team against a top quality defense. We've seen that over the past couple of years, and I think LSU can win this game. I get where you're coming from, Jim. It is a rebuilding year, and I think fans should look at it that way and be patient. And you should be ecstatic with 8-4. Quite frankly, I think that would be a fantastic year against this schedule. And they're already halfway to 8 wins. Have a game against UAB, so that's probably 5 wins. So you just need to pick a couple more off somewhere to get to that 7 or 8 win mark. But I actually think if you look at analytics, I know that's your buzzword. LSU's a top 20 team in the nation. SP Plus, Sagarin rankings, Massey ratings, all have them as a top 20 team in the nation. They've proven, even with an ugly performance in Auburn last week, that they're a quality team, especially a quality defense. And we'll see how they match up against Hendon Hooker, because I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation for the Vols. So that's going to be the challenge.
I agree, Zach, and with that part of it. And I will say this: they are better than I thought they would be. But that does, I mean, I guess so. Before the season started, if you asked me about a look-ahead prediction to Tennessee, I would have probably told you they'd lose by 17. I mean, I was talking 10 or 17 earlier. If that happens, I don't think they'll lose by 17 this week, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did. But it would also surprise me if they covered. So I think it's going to be somewhere between 3 and 17. I know that's a wide range. I'm not telling you to bet on it. I know we're a betting show. If I had to bet, I would bet on Tennessee. But that being said, it's all about progress. And if they match up to those numbers that you're talking about, and they do find a way to win or even cover and play a really tight game against a quarterback like that and against a team like that I think is, I mean, obviously they're number 8 in the country. If you play tight with a team like that, then maybe I'll feel differently when we talk on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes from expecting a 7 or 8 win season to, if you can beat Tennessee, or even, like you say, play close with them, play toe-to-toe with them, a top 10 team, then you can start to dream just a little bit bigger. Maybe the Ole Miss game, maybe the Alabama game aren't totally out of reach. Maybe you can think about competing in those games. So we talk about how difficult the schedule gets. It does get difficult, but this could really kick off that stretch with a bang.
This is the beginning of it
for LSU.
Sure.
That's right. Also on Saturday, while we're on the subject of college football, and we will get to the Saints in just a second and the NFL, but the Tulane Green Wave won their American Athletic Conference opener last Friday night. Now they're playing East Carolina at home. The last time they had a big win, they came home and laid an egg and lost to Southern Miss. You would hope they would learn lessons from that, Jim.
East Carolina is always scary anyway. They seem to bring out the best. I don't know what it is about that team, but they seem to bring out the best of other teams. I remember last year against Cincinnati. They played Cincinnati fairly tough in the last game. It was the last game of the year. And so it's just something about East Carolina in general. And I know Tulane's had issues with East Carolina through the years. So another spread that I wouldn't touch with a stick. If I had to touch it, if I had to take it, I can't. I liked Tulane last week. I don't like them this week, and kind of for a similar reason. I don't quite know what's going on with the quarterback situation, and I know they have other injuries. I love Tajay Spears. I think he's an NFL running back or maybe an NFL wide receiver, depending on where he is in the field. But I don't think Tulane's ready to take the step that they need to take the step, and that's to win this game and become a real force. And everybody's talking about him now. I was watching the game last night with UCF, and Tulane got brought up in that game. So Tulane's one of these up-and-coming teams that people like to talk about. I'm just not sure they're ready for that.
We'll see. We shall see, because their schedule, unlike LSU's, actually gets pretty light here over the next 6 weeks or so. So an opportunity for the Green Wave to be in that conference title race all the way up until the end of the year, when I think they have to play Memphis and Cincinnati maybe. Or maybe it's SMU and Cincinnati. They've got to play some good teams late, but they could definitely
SMU didn't look very good last night.
No, that's true. They didn't. Hey, you're watching Bayou Bets here on bet.NOLA.com and the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for us, hit the share button, and keep it going. Keep our audience growing. We love that. Leave your comments about what you think. Want to move on to the NFL and the New Orleans Saints, who play noon on Sunday. Their trip back from London. It's kind of interesting because it used to be, Spencer, that the teams coming back from London automatically got a bye week the next week. That's not the case anymore. These teams flew back Monday morning. They got back Monday because you gain the time back. But that's kind of a short week, and it's interesting because the Saints and Vikings are both actually favored by quite a bit. Saints line has ticked down just to 5. It went from, I think it opened at 4, got all the way up to 5.5. Now it's settled back to 5. But interesting spot for the Saints here.
For sure. Yeah, I wouldn't think the plane ride would have much of an effect. I mean, they'll be back at home. And I'm thinking this is a game where their backs will be against the wall, to where you'll see on big bucks that I really believe in the Saints this week. I think even if it's Andy Dalton under center, I think the offense will do enough, and the defense will do really well, because I'm not a Geno Smith believer. A lot of people have talked up Geno Smith because he's done really well through 4 weeks, but I'm thinking that the Saints pass rush makes life rough on him. And Rashad Penny in the running game did really well last week, but it was freaking Detroit, the worst defense in the NFL.
Well, Rashad Penny's a little banged up.
And yeah, and he's always banged up. Penny, I mean, he's never healthy hardly. The only potential issue could be the DK Metcalf, but I feel like Marshawn Lattimore should have a bounce back after he got torched by Jefferson last week.
Yeah, speaking of injuries, though, Jim, Michael Thomas, Jameis Winston, a DNP, did not practice for the second straight day today, so Saints still have some concerns there, too.
The spread is actually 5.5 now, by the way. So I think
it moved back up. Okay. Yeah, this was as of noon, so.
This is there is sharp money coming in on the Saints for sure, which is interesting. So I like the Saints as well. I made it clear, and if anyone who's read my NFL picks column this morning or looked at my best bets, I think it's important for the Saints not only to win this game. I think it's like last week I said it was important for them to show up and show us that they give it on. I think it's important this week that they come out and rip Seattle open. I mean, I think they need to win this one big. They need to gain confidence going into the stretch they got coming up. Winnable games, but tough games nonetheless. And you talk about the injuries and Michael Thomas, a no-show. I mean, Michael Thomas has been a no-show for 3 years. To me, it's insignificant. I mean, I hate to put it though.
You're not wrong.
I hate to put it that way. And you know, Jameis Winston needs to sit until he's able to play again. I mean, when he's able to play, he's going to play. He's the best quarterback for this team when he's able to play. But the way Andy Dalton played last week, there's no reason to rush Jameis Winston back in the lineup. I know there's a lot of people watching and listening, screaming at their phones or computer screens or whatever they're watching this on and wanting Andy Dalton to be the starting quarterback. It's not going to happen. I mean, Jameis Winston's going to be the starter when he's ready. That being said, I would like to see Andy Dalton start until Jameis is physically ready to come back, whether that's this week, next week, or whenever it is. And I one thing I will say about the long plane ride home, I agree with Spencer to the fact that it helps that you're back home and you had time to acclimate yourself. But when you have all those problems with your back, I do think a problem for him. I do think that that Jameis, that's one big reason why Andy Dalton is most likely going to start this week, because a 7-hour plane ride home, you did it and you're just fine. And you're a young man, Zach. I mean, riding home with an injured back for 7 hours, I don't care how you sit or lay, that isn't good for you.
Well, Jameis Winston's younger than I am, but I'll tell you, my back was stiff. My neck was stiff. Now, those guys probably aren't sitting in coach. So true. It's not quite that bad, but it does take a toll. I mean, you get very
They're
stiff.
not sitting in a hyperbaric chamber either.
No. So it's not nothing. But I mean, I don't know, Jim. If Andy Dalton, let's say he plays this week, because it certainly looks like he will.
I know where you're going. It's not happening.
Let's just play the game then. 70% completion. 220 yards, couple touchdown passes, no turnovers. Saints win by 13 points.
Okay.
And then Jameis is healthy next week with Cincinnati coming back. I'm not saying Dalton goes out and throws for 400 yards. I'm saying 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. Saints win, 30-17, whatever it is. Okay? Good game.
All right.
Not fantastic, but certainly solid was one of the reasons they win the game. Bengals come in next week.
Right.
Does Jameis get the keys straight back? Are we sure of that?
He gets the keys back if he's healthy. If he's ready to go, if he's out there practicing and he's ready to go, he gets the keys back. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And again, it doesn't matter what any of us think. I know Spencer disagrees, and I'm guessing that you're leaning towards disagreeing. I think Jameis should be back in there, but it doesn't matter what any of us think. I'm telling you what I'm reading through the tea leaves. In reading through the tea leaves, it doesn't make a difference what any fan or anybody wants. It's going to be Jameis Winston as soon as he's deemed healthy enough to play, as soon as probably he deems himself healthy enough to play, which is probably going to be next week against Cincinnati.
And the funny thing is, I'm not sure how I feel either, but I feel like I'm reading the tea leaves here. I mean, I really do. I think they're using the back injury as sort of an excuse to, hey, let's give Andy a chance and see what happens.
I think if he wasn't really hurt, I think he'd be practicing, because I think he'd want to be practicing, and I think he's taking it as a chance to heal up a little bit too. So let's
Yeah.
don't forget his side of this whole thing.
That is true, and I don't think it's time to give up on Jameis necessarily. But if Dalton is the hot hand and you're winning games with him, certainly an interesting discussion to have. NFL Week 5. Go ahead, Spencer.
Okay, yeah, I was like, I mean, this is one of the more interesting. I mean, I feel like it's officially become a quarterback controversy as far as we're not sure who it's going to be. But I do think that they signed Jameis Winston with the intent for him to start. You know, re-signed him. They had originally signed him to be Breeze's backup, and they re-signed him to start. So I'm thinking, like Jim has said, when he's cleared to play, that they'll probably give him the keys back, unless Dalton would really light the world on fire. But I mean, Andy Dalton's been a backup now for the past 3 or 4 years, so I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, of course, they signed Jameis to be the starter, but did they have the utmost confidence in him? Do you go after Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, all those trade rumors if you're confident in Jameis? I don't think
unless you have a Tom Brady on your roster, or a Josh Allen on your roster, someone of that ilk, you can go after Deshaun Watson. I mean, look what happened to Matt Ryan. I mean, I don't think that says anything about Jameis Winston. I think that says about where the Saints wanted to take this franchise and where they thought they could go if they could get a Deshaun Watson. And as it turns out, it's probably a good thing they didn't, because this season would have been completely, because they wouldn't have got Jameis back. They may or may not have gotten Andy Dalton. But what it would have done to this team, I think, and you can see what it's kind of doing to Cleveland, who shows up one week and next week they're not there. I think it's kind of really messed up Cleveland. I mean, I guess in part you could say it's because of Jacoby Brissett, but I think it was more trouble than it's worth in the long run, because even when Deshaun Watson comes back, this isn't the last you're going to hear about this. You're going to have these protesters and stuff outside. I
think
that's what press is going to be talking about.
Many reasons they shouldn't have signed Deshaun Watson. Many reasons. But I do bring that up just because I don't know that they have the utmost confidence in Jameis. NFL Week 5 does begin tonight, Thursday Night Football. Matchup that looked really good in the preseason that does not look very good now, especially with Javonte Williams out for the season. Jonathan Taylor of the Colts will not play tonight either, the other star running back here. Broncos laying 3 points at home, guys. I got my eye on the under, and I got it at 43 a couple days ago. It's now down to 42. It just seems like a very conservative offensive game plan for both teams.
I would think so, but if I had to lean on one of the teams, I'd probably go with Denver, because I was talking about this with my buddy earlier. Like, I just feel like Denver matches up better in this. I know Russell Wilson struggled, but to me, Matt Ryan struggled a lot more than Russell Wilson, and especially last week. I mean, Michael Pittman, where was Michael Pittman at? And he's got to go up against Patrick Surtain tonight, one of the best corners. So I'm thinking that the Colts, just without Jonathan Taylor, they're not going to have any answers. So if I had to pick this one, I'd go with the under and Denver to cover.
I like the under with you guys, Zach, but I will say this: you couldn't give me money, your own money, for me to bet on Denver at any point, anytime soon. As bad, I know the Colts have been
Russell
great.
Wilson hatred.
Well, I mean, what is there to like? He's been awful. And not only that, the Colts have the 6th ranked passing defense. I think it is going to be a lower scoring game. But here's one reason why I like the Colts tonight, and I think I like them to win straight up, is because I think you're taking this, as weird as it sounds, having Jonathan Taylor out for a game, I think takes a little bit of pressure off of Matt Ryan. Now he knows. I mean, we've seen what Matt Ryan can do when he knows he has to throw the ball, and that's a lot of years in Atlanta, by the way. And he's fine when he's gets in a rhythm and throws a ton, and he's going to have to throw a ton tonight. He's going to have to throw 40 times tonight. A lot of them will probably be to Nyheim Hines out of the backfield. He'll look for Michael Pittman. Also, the Denver's not very good against the tight end. They're 19th in the league against the tight end, so it could be a game for Mo Alley Cox if you're playing DFS tonight. So I just think that I think the Colts are a better football team overall. I think they're better coached. Frank Reich's never played against the Broncos. And I don't have any faith in Russell Wilson or Nathaniel Hackett. And I just think the Broncos are going in the wrong direction.
Russell Wilson, man.
And by the way, who's Denver to be laying? It's 3. It was 3.5 most of the week. It's still 3.5 at some places, which is where I got it at. I mean, who's Denver to be laying 3.5 to anyone but a really, really bad team? I mean, they're not very good.
Here's Kyle. Hey, Kyle. We're the experts who told you the Saints weren't going to go 15-2. We can hold that over you for a while. So,
but now he says they're going 3-14.
They could go. They could still go 14-3 technically. It's possible.
Or 3-14. It's possible.
It's also possible that I'll win the lottery without buying a ticket. Maybe somebody will give me one.
I had a Saints hater the other day on Facebook, yesterday, as a matter of fact, talking smack about how the Saints were going to finish last in the division, and I told him I would bet him $1,000 straight up that the Saints wouldn't finish last in the division, and I got a bunch of crickets. People like to talk smack.
Yeah, that's how it goes. We'll get to this in a minute. It's funny because in big bucks I'm up money,
in big bucks,
but in my regular my actual finances I've done okay for myself. So it's a little bit different. A lot of bets you make.
My best bet's a 14-6. So
you try to make your picks for the next week on Sunday and Monday, honestly, when the new lines come out, because that's when you get the best value. By the time we make our big bucks picks on Wednesday and Thursday, those lines have moved a lot of times, and so makes it more difficult. But look,
not just that, Zach. It also works the other way. Like I had to put Saints plus 2.5 in my column, but I waited to bet it until closer to game time. I got 3.5. It went as high as 4.5. So I won with my own personal money with my bet, but I didn't win it in the column because I had to pick it at 2.5 because it goes in on Thursday.
Yeah.
So it worked both ways for Zach. And I think we're getting to the point where we kind of have an idea where lines are going. So we know whether to take it early in the week or whether to take it late in the week. And that's just a bigger part of handicapping and betting as anything else, is knowing when to bet it.
That's right. Kyle's salty today. I like it. Kyle, what's your best bet for the day? Give us your best bet for the weekend, and we'll see how you do. And you keep getting hot. We'll see what happens.
Put that
Texans and Bears aren't going to do it for you.
Yeah,
it's pretty obvious they won't go over the number. Never bet a team to go over a win total when they've been bet up 2 games. This is the same guy who was promising they would go with 15-2 or 14-3 or whatever he said. So now he's telling us that we shouldn't have bet it.
I think Kyle's right in that you shouldn't do it after they've gone up 2 games. But if you got it at 7.5 or 8, like we did, and then they go to 8.5, well, you ended up getting good value. So the market gets more accurate as time goes on. That's the idea. If you can get it earlier in the week or earlier in the preseason, you tend, and then it moves in your favor. That means you've got a good number.
And I think there's value on the Saints right now. They're back to 7.5, and if they win this game, especially if they win it big, it's not going to stay at 7.5. It's going to go back to 8. So if you were looking for value in the Saints and you didn't bet a future earlier, I still think they're going to win more than 7 games. I think that's a good value. I think it's time to bet.
I don't think I could touch it right now. It's too much.
I don't think they're going 7-10 or worse.
Injuries and just. I mean, I definitely think they could go over it, but I just don't have enough confidence to.
The deal is, if you look at the schedule, it doesn't look as tough as it looked in the beginning of the season.
I was just about to say that.
A lot of the teams that are on their schedule aren't as good as we thought they were going to be. So there are a lot more winnable games. You look at Cincinnati as a perfect example. I mean, if you would have asked me after the Atlanta game, I would have, even though Cincinnati lost week 1, I would have said they're not going to win that game. That's going to be a loss. Now I'm not so sure. I think the Saints actually can match up with Cincinnati and play them. So anyway, it's not just that. It's the Rams, the Niners. There's a lot of teams on the schedule that I'm not nearly as fearful of.
Yeah,
Steelers,
Rams and Steelers. I mean, 49ers with that defense. Good luck. That's team.
That's tough.
Even if Jimmy G's not very good, their defense is going to carry them the 10+ win season.
Kyle's back on the ref train, and I do have to say, look, that call Sunday, went back home and looked and watched the replay. That Tyrann Mathieu hands-to-face call was awful.
It was terrible.
Awful, and the ref should be held accountable.
I mean,
it changed the game.
It changed the game, but if the Saints would have showed up in the first quarter, it would have never been an issue.
Yeah,
Stop blaming the refs.
It's tough to sit here and say one call cost you the game because the ball literally a bounce of the ball one way or the other could decide these NFL games. So I don't know. I mean, Kyle, again, we're waiting on your best bet since you're talking the smack today, man. But in the meantime, I want to switch gears and talk a little playoff baseball. That starts tomorrow. I'm not a fan in general of expanded playoffs. Like that's not. I just think it waters down sports. particularly baseball, where you play 162 games to find out who the best team is, and now we're adding rounds to this crapshoot. But I have to say, I'm excited. And it's not just because Seattle's in the playoffs. I think this is a fun round, back-to-back-to-back days, best-of-3 series. Got all spreads or all lines under minus 200, so all of them are expected to be pretty close. Spencer, your Cardinals are in it. What are your thoughts looking at these wild card rounds?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if all these went to 3 games because they're all pretty evenly matched. The one where I feel like there's some value is with the Padres, because the way the Mets have been playing, blew the NL East lead, man. They had that wrapped up and they blew it. And I know they've got Max Scherzer and DeGrom, but I have no confidence in them right now. The way they're playing, they're looking like a team that's gonna probably get bounced early because the Padres have played better in September. It's been kind of quiet surrounding them. They had all the Tatis drama and the Juan Soto, all the buzz around that. But lately they've just been kind of steady. They've been a lot more stable, it seems like, in September. So that'd be the one from a value standpoint that I'd target. The rest, it's tough to say. They're all kind of coin flips, I feel like.
I'll push back a little bit on the Mets. I mean, I do think there's some value on San Diego there, but the Mets, okay, I saw the stat. On May 31st, the Mets had a 10.5 game lead over the Braves in that division, and the Braves came back and won it. And so you say, well, how did the Mets choke that away? Well, since May 31st, the Mets have the 7th best record in Major League Baseball. It's just that the Braves were playing at a 115-win pace since then. So to me, that division's less about the Mets choking it away than it is about the Braves playing better than anybody in baseball for 2/3 of the season, basically since Michael Harris came up. So I don't know. I mean, I do think there's some value on San Diego plus 150 because I think that series could be very tight. But I don't know that I would say, oh, the Mets choked it away, they're done for. I don't know that I agree with that. Jim, your thoughts on the wild card round?
My thoughts are I have tickets on 3 of these teams that are playing that I got before the season. So
World Series tickets, you mean?
World Series tickets. So Go Padres, go Phillies, and go Blue Jays. The rest
of
them, I don't.
Oh, get off my screen!
Jeez,
sorry,
get off my screen.
Going against both our teams.
I got a ticket. It's no disrespect. They just happen to get matched up against teams I got tickets on. I got 4 tickets, and they all made the playoffs. One of them has a bye, and that's the Dodgers. So that's who I have tickets on. I will say this though, and I don't know if it's because of the watered down playoffs. I kind of think that it is. I don't know if it's because I got into basketball more and it lingered well into baseball season, but this was the least I followed a baseball season in probably 30 years. And look, my Cubs have stunk many of those 3 years, so it's not just that. I just don't know what it is, and maybe it's the watered down playoffs. I don't like it at all. I think you're getting you're going to the route of the NBA, which is hard enough to follow as it is. And all these teams are making the playoffs. I just think there should be more reward for, I think if you win your division in one wild card, I think that's plenty.
I mean, the new format does give the top 2 seeds the bye, so there is some reward for chasing that. It was a bad year. Baseball got unlucky in that if they had kept the old format, 2 wild cards in each league, the last day of the season would have been phenomenal. Because you would have had teams 3-way battles for those 2 spots. It just would have been phenomenal. But as it turned out, they cut it off at 3 wild cards in each league, and that's right where you had this separation to where in the AL it was Toronto, Seattle, Tampa Bay. In the NL it was the Mets and then San Diego and Philadelphia. And then there was a gap of a couple of games, 3-4 games before you got to anybody else. And there was nothing left to be decided yesterday. They played all these games at the same time at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with nothing to be decided. Just bad luck. It won't always happen that way. So I think that might be part of it. I do like these wildcard rounds, I'll show them one more time. Shane Bieber against Shane McClanahan. Luis Castillo against Alek Manoah. Jose Quintana against, who's starting for the Phillies, Spencer? Is it Zach Wheeler? Zach Wheeler. And then Yu Darvish against Jacob deGrom or Max Scherzer. The pitching matchups are going to be phenomenal. Real quick, World Series odds haven't changed too much since we last showed them to you about a month ago. Dodgers still your favorite. The big change, of course, with the Braves getting that bye, they've shot ahead of the Mets into the 6-1 range.
I'm really upset that I didn't take the Braves way back when we were talking about this, end of May. You could kind of see it coming, right? You could see. The reason why the defending world. I know, and I'm kicking myself for for not going to get an in-season ticket because I really didn't get any. I didn't get any in-season tickets. I just rode with what I had. I figured I had enough going on these teams already. At the time, I didn't know if some of the teams that tickets on were going to even make it. That I wanted to rip up my ticket in September. But I'm really kicking myself. That's the one thing I am kicking myself for is not buying the Braves probably end of May, early June.
I know the Astros the number has shrunk, and part of that is because Mattress Mac has put millions on them and all this. I still have a feeling they may be the best. They've got the most pitching depth. They've got the most lineup depth. They are built for the postseason. And I think the Astros, there still may be some value even at plus 380. Although, Spencer, what I'm rooting for is those two teams at 20 to 1.
Baker.
Those two teams at 20 to 1 can meet in the World Series, and Uncle Big Nick will take us to St. Louis for a game.
Yeah, that'd be the dream scenario there. Hopefully this year will be some shakeups because the Braves weren't really a chalk play last year. Like, there's been a lot of chalk lately. I mean, the Dodgers won it in 2020.
They were 11 to 1.
Seem like they go every year lately. So hopefully there'll be some new teams in there. I mean, if I had to pick a chalk play in the AL, I definitely would go with the Astros over the Yankees. But yeah, it's my team. But yeah, I do have a future on the Cardinals. I feel like with it probably being the last year for all three of Pujols, Ciotti, and Wainwright, that they're going to be extra motivated in this. So I think they're a good value at 20 to 1. The Blue Jays, I feel like the winner of that Blue Jays Mariners 3-game series could also have a lot of value. I'd maybe put a little something on both Seattle and Toronto because I feel like whoever wins that could give trouble to the Yankees and Astros.
Yeah, I think
if there were a senior citizen series, I think the Cardinals would be right up there with a good chance to win it in the real world series against real teams.
Outside of those three, they're young. They don't have any other
They play in the worst division in baseball.
The AL Central's worse, I think. The Guardians,
it's pretty close.
Both Central divisions were bad this year. I agree with you, Spencer. I think the Mariners Blue Jays Survivor is dangerous. Only problem is that team, the way the bracket works out, goes to Houston. So they're going to be big underdogs right away in the next round. And all these wild card teams, this is why the bye is such an advantage. You have to use your best starters to get through the wild card round, and you only get to use those guys once in a division series instead of twice. So it could be difficult for either one of those teams to beat Houston. So keep an eye.
Baker.
Dusty Baker chasing that ring. Oh, he's still chasing that ring. Yeah. We shall see.
Ask Mark Pryor about that.
Those series go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, barring any rainouts. So flip the channels back and forth, man. It'll be Good Friday to see all the game ones, and then it'll be battling football all weekend. But worth changing the channel a couple times to check on some of those baseball games. Switching gears here, back to football on Bayou Bets. College football Saturday, some of the games of the week. I don't know. BYU and Notre Dame at the bottom there. Those two schools are playing in Las Vegas. This is a weird world.
Really? No, what's a weird world is the Kansas Jayhawks are undefeated.
So's TCU. That's the game of the week right there.
Well, I know. That's why I just threw that out there to remind you in case you forgot. So even though I took TCU in my Carvel picks, I might be rooting for the Jayhawks to make it close just to see what kind of text you come up with.
I will be coaching my son's baseball team at we got a game at 10:45 on Saturday morning, and so I will just put the phone down and hope I look at a 28-0 TCU halftime score when I check it.
I think TCU will cover there. I'm not worried about Kansas. I know they've got a lot of talent right now as far as unexpectedly. Like no one really expected them to be that great, but I'm thinking TCU, the way they're playing, should be able to cover that and smash the over on that. There's going to be a lot of points scored.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would do that. Jalen Daniels has been a revelation for Kansas, but Iowa State bottled them up last week. Maybe gave TCU a blueprint on how to do it. Iowa State just couldn't make a field goal.
I think you should ask Kyle who Roger Goodell wants to win, because that's who's going to win. I mean, whoever Roger Goodell wants to win, that's who's going to win. I mean,
I do love it.
It's all fixed. Why are we even talking about this?
Yeah,
Everything's rigged, fixed. Vegas and Goodell, they run the show. I don't even know why we do this.
It's funny because BYU, there's actually a big Mormon population in Las Vegas, and so BYU does have a big fan base there. That'll be an interesting one. Utah, UCLA, I think is a great game. Look at that Mississippi State spread. Part of that now is because Well, KJ Jefferson, the Arkansas quarterback, is questionable.
Okay.
He had a concussion last week, and so that's a part of that, I think. But that still seems like a lot of points. And speaking of a lot of points, Ohio State minus 27 in their first road game.
And Roll Tide.
Yeah, Roll Tide 24, Ohio State 27. Yeah, that's a perfect example of the tax. You got to pay tax basically to bet on C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. It's just,
And I'm paying it.
You pay?
I'm
I would take both dogs. Give me the points.
I'm paying the Alabama tax. I learned my lesson last week. I'm paying Alabama tax. Texas A&M isn't very good.
They're not. And Max Johnson, by the way, the former LSU quarterback, is out, I think, at least 3 weeks with a broken hand.
Bama's going to win that game. They're going to.
Yeah, I took Bama in the Carville. I couldn't pick.
And I think I took A&M, but I have no confidence at all in that because I think Saban might get something up his butt and say, I'm going to put it on Jimbo.
He doesn't like Jimbo at all.
No,
I promise you. There aren't a lot of teams. He's actually not a guy that runs up the score, believe it or not, even though he's the biggest jerk that ever walked a sideline. And look, there's a lot of jerks that have walked the sideline. He's the biggest. But he doesn't run up the score all that much. But a guy against the Jimbo, if he gets a chance, he's gonna.
I think he will too. Although
leave Bryce Young in there and they're up 40-0.
Yeah, exactly.
Jimbo has played Saban's teams pretty well over the years.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the horses to do it this time, and that's why I'm saying Texas A&M's just not very good. They're not good. And Devin
A. will return a kick for a touchdown. They'll keep it close. They'll lose by close-ish. They'll lose by 10. NFL, yeah. 10
what alternate line are you going to give me? What odds are we going to have right now?
I just said I wasn't confident in it.
Oh, okay. Well, I want an alternate line of 10.
Speaking of confidence levels, there's a lot of big favorites in the NFL this week. That Bucs line's up to 9.5 now.
Yep.
Vikings 7.5. We mentioned that coming back from London themselves. Game I want to point out here: Cowboys and Rams. That line has been on the move up. It was at, I want to say 4 when the line opened. It was up to 5.5, and then the Eagles road favorites trying to get to 5-0.
Yeah, that Cowboys Rams line doesn't really make much sense to me. I mean, I'm not sure why the Rams are that heavy of favorites. I mean, to me, I don't know if the Cowboys will win the game, but they've been playing pretty well. Their defense is solid. I'd take the points with them because the Rams, the way Matthew Stafford looks, I have no confidence in them.
The Cowboys looked fine.
NFL picks, Kyle.
The Cowboys looked fine against the Giants and the Commanders, but this might be a little bit different story. So we'll see. Jim, anything stick out to you here?
I don't. You want to talk about lines? I don't get the way the Bucs have played. They don't deserve. I mean, I know it's the Falcons, and I don't like that line at all. I stayed away from Tampa in every shape and form. I'm not saying I'm running out to bet on Atlanta, but that line keeps going up, and it shouldn't be. I mean, Tampa Bay's been awful, and Tom Brady looks like his mind is someone else. Best meme of the week, by the way, or best joke of the week, however you want to put it. Tom Brady's about to lose one of his rings.
Yeah. Hey, I think he'll play better. He's gonna have that. I mean,
didn't work for Tiger.
He seemed totally unaffected.
Didn't work for Tiger
today. He seemed totally unaffected.
What's he gonna do?
But well,
I think he's gonna torch Atlanta this week. He owns Atlanta throughout his Bucs. The past 4 times he has dominated them in every matchup, and I don't see that changing.
I do think he'll bury himself.
I don't want any part of that.
All right, Horace, Mr. Urquhart says, Survivor contest out of the Bills, Bucks, Vikings, or Saints. I'll throw the Jags out there too. I think they're a viable option, Jim. I know you don't like the trend there.
Yeah, I just don't think I could trust them. They got swept by the Texans last year.
The only thing about the Jags is there's no other place to take
them. 8 in a row.
The rest of the year,
who cares?
There's no other place to take them.
Guess what? You're not taking anybody if you lose. If you lose in Survivor, you're not taking anybody anywhere else. So who cares if it's the only chance to take?
To answer the question here, I think Buffalo is the safest pick.
Buffalo is most definitely the safest pick. If you're playing, if you like to be a little risky, and I've determined that I am going to be a little risky this year, I would take the Saints. I took the Saints with one of my picks. Minnesota scares me because they're coming back from London, but I don't see how Minnesota doesn't win. So if those are the 4 options, I would probably take the Saints out of there. because I'm going to be a little bit more risky and save Buffalo a little later. And then next would be Minnesota. I got to be honest. I have a really weird feeling about Tampa Bay this week. And when I get these weird feelings, I got it about Green Bay last week. I'm getting it about Tampa Bay this week. I don't trust them. I just don't.
All right. Well,
I'll
say
do
this.
Tampa because we're on opposite ends of that fence.
I like Tampa
and
Bay.
Atlanta's also got a Cordarrelle Patterson on IR and Kyle Pitts highly questionable.
But there's something wrong. Atlanta's playing with heart, and it just goes to show how much heart matters. Atlanta's playing with heart and obviously has a really good chemistry. And Tampa Bay is the complete opposite. They're worse than the Saints. They're not playing with any heart. They look like they don't want to be there. Mike Evans is fighting with everybody. The receivers, you don't know which ones are going to play every week. The defense is sometimes good, sometimes doesn't care. Well, he was back last week, but they got
Chiefs are a lot better than Atlanta.
I don't see
that 41-31 score. That don't get skewed by that. That should have been 41-17. I mean,
I don't see Tampa Bay falling to 2-3. But if Atlanta wins this game, Atlanta's going to be in first place, right? 3-2.
That's correct. They'll be in first place by themselves. Winner of that game is in first place in the NFC South by themselves. It ain't happening. Why? Because it just doesn't sound right or it looks weird.
I got a hot take for y'all. Marcus Mariota is going to stink up the joint to the point where he gets benched at halftime in favor of Desmond Ridder.
You're out of your mind.
No
way.
He did not play well last week. I mean, it was all the running game. He didn't do anything as a
I'm firing up Red Zone on the plane. I'm going to Vegas on Sunday. I'm going to have Red Zone on the plane and be texting Spencer. Mariota has a couple first-half touchdown passes. It's going to be fantastic.
Hey, I'm planting my flag. Y'all want hot takes? There y'all go. Marcus Mariota
I'm not betting on Atlanta. Like I said, I'm not running out to bet on Atlanta. I'm just saying something strikes me weird about this game. I want nothing to do with Tampa Bay on or against anytime soon because I don't know what they are. I don't think they know what they are. They're kind of like, a little bit like the Saints. They have. I mean, Tom Brady doesn't look like he wants to be there. I think he's questioning whether he should have come back or not. And obviously, it's leading to a divorce.
Oh, he wants to be there. If he wants, he'd work things out with her. If he really didn't want to be there.
I'll say this.
He definitely wants to be there. He literally gave up his
supermodel
wife to be there.
He has not played well at all.
I am not laying the 9.5. I will not lay the 9.5. When it was 7.5, I think it was to start, I'd consider that. I'm not laying 9.5. But this is a good segue as we go into big bucks here on Bayou Bets. This was done last night. The Bucks were 8.5, so I teased them down to 2.5. Packers -2. That's my best bet. I think both of those teams get it done, despite Jim's weird feelings. My chalk play, we talked about this, the Rams over the Cowboys. The Cowboys they've looked good under Cooper Rush. They have not been playing teams this good. They've been playing the Giants and the Commanders. Whoop-de-doo. So now they got to play the Rams. My dog play, not too confident, but I'm going to take the home team and all those points. Michigan State. Ohio State's only 2-1 against the spread, and they haven't been on the road yet. So that's a big number for me. Arkansas, Mississippi State, I'm going under 62, especially if KJ Jefferson doesn't play. And then my wild card, LSU to beat Tennessee, $14 to win 31. Try to get that balance back up over 900. But in the meantime, I went first because I'm wearing the dunce cap.
That looks great on you. That looks wonderful.
I'm in last place. So we move on. I am taking the Rams and giving. I got it at 4.5, but I will give 5.5 for the purposes of the game. I like the Rams in that one.
By the way, I don't have it on my card, but I like that as well. The only thing that scares me is the Ram offense. The Ram offense front is not great. And Dallas has one of the best pass rushes in the league. But I think it's more going to be on Cooper Rush. I think this is the game that he gets pounded. So I actually like the under probably more than anything in that game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored. But
Jim's in second place. Here's your big bucks.
All right, my big bucks. I have the Packers with a teaser with you as well. I'm just going to pair it with the Vikings. I almost did it as a parlay and took the Packers -8 because I think they steamroll the Giants with their backup third-string quarterback in there, as a matter of fact, in London. But I don't trust the Vikings coming back from London, so we'll just make it 1.5, and we'll do it as a teaser. That is my best bet. My chalk play, something I rarely do, and lay 14 points. Pittsburgh's in a world of hurt. Kenny Pickett is coming in, and I'm glad to see that they're finally doing that. And it's going to pay off in the long run, but not right away, not at Buffalo. Buffalo didn't play very well last week. They're going back home. They're going to steamroll Pittsburgh. It is just the 4th time ever that Tomlin has been a double-digit underdog, and the worst. This is the most points he's ever been an underdog. Been coaching since 2007. And he's 1-2 in those against the spread in those other 2 games, by the way.
And that's a lot of points.
My underdog, Cleveland Browns. The Chargers shouldn't be giving points to anybody on the road, especially a Cleveland team that is going to be able to run the ball effectively. I think Cleveland, Jekyll and Hyde, a little bit scary, so I don't make it my best bet, but I do like it in my best bets. We'll take Browns plus 2.5. And then my total, Dolphins, Jets over. I think this is my first over pick in the total category. Been looked back in the history. I think even with Teddy Bridgewater, he'll be able to find a way to get the ball to his weapons. Waiting to see if Jalen Waddle is going to play or not. I think he will. He's been in limited practice. But I like the way the Jets have been playing offensively, and neither one of these teams have been all that great on defense. The Jets have really been bad on defense. And so it kept me away from taking the Jets, which is what I wanted to do. So I just took the over. Then my wild card is I don't trust enough Saints best bet to give those 5.5 points, but I like them enough to win this week. I think they play very well. I'll take the money line. I'll lay the juice. Give me the Saints.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And now for our reigning leader and weekly winner again, Spencer the Guru, is back over the 1,000 mark. I hope all of us finish over the 1,000 mark. I got a ways to go, but we could rally.
I think it's going to happen. It can happen.
Spencer, your best bet is laying the Saints -5.5 or -5.
Yeah, I'm all in with the Saints, baby. I think the defense is going to really carry them to where, like I said earlier, even if Dalton doesn't play that great, I still think they'll win by 10 plus. So I'm feeling good about this one to make it the best bet. And then we've talked about the Bucks. I know Jim obviously doesn't agree, but I'm thinking the Bucks win that big, and that the Falcons just really struggle being beat up. And the dog play, I went a little risky with the dog. I'm feeling frisky this week. I got up over that 1,000, taking, hopefully not going too wild, but I'm thinking of the Cardinals cover against Philly. I know Philly's the hot team right now, but I don't know. I'm a little concerned about with Jalen Hurts as far as him as being any truly elite quarterback. I don't know if he's quite there yet, and I feel like a lot of people are writing off Kyler Murray to the point where I think Kyler Murray is actually slept on at this point. And then
I agree with that pick. I like the Cardinals at the point.
So
in fact, I think the Cardinals may give the Eagles their first loss.
Yeah, I thought about.
I agree.
For sure. Yeah, that other one I agree with Jim, man. We agreed twice. The Browns money line. I like them as my wild card over the Chargers. The Chargers are a team. I feel like I was just dead wrong about them before the season. As far they're charging it up yet again. Even with Justin Herbert, they just can't do anything right.
Brandon Staley.
I mean, they're just
Staley.
They have a ton of
all
injuries.
the injuries.
They really are.
That's every year with them. They get injured every year. It's like I can't believe that I was as high on them. And I was drinking the Herbert Kool-Aid, but I just. Not even Herbert can save that sorry franchise.
Another analytics coach who won't make the Super Bowl.
I think the Chargers will be fine. You know what's funny? By the way, Horace asked what the most we can bet. Well, it's 110 limit per week, and you have to put something on every bet. So let's just say you put $1 on 4 of them. I guess you could put 106 on your best bet. So that would be the max. One of these weeks we may get
on
there.
The Saints. Let's go.
Yeah. Look, I do find it funny you asked on Monday, the last analytics coach to win a Super Bowl, while you were asking about John Harbaugh, who literally has won a Super Bowl.
I know. And that's the last one. How long ago was that? And I told you, Colin Kaepernick was on the other side. He sucks.
Oh yeah, it was he. I don't think was he as much of an analytics coach back then.
No,
or has
he wasn't.
He kind of changed his philosophy recently? Because I know a lot of this analytics stuff's come in the last 5 years.
That is correct.
I seem to remember that Doug Peterson, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, there were a lot of headlines about how he had embraced analytics. So,
at the Philly special.
I'll say that's my answer to that question.
He was probably the last one. Because
it
was Doug Peterson and
he
Belichick.
wasn't really doing that then.
Then.
Yeah, I just Googled it. January 2018, Eagles' secret weapon, an analytics-fueled attack.
Right.
So
Yeah, and that kind of
Okay.
helped him against
Okay.
eat your heart out, Jim
Patriots.
Derry.
Okay, sure. 2018, eat my heart out. And when was the Ravens Niners? Was that 2014, 2015?
2013, I think, actually. Yeah.
Okay, 2013. So once every 5 years.
When Bill Belichick is winning every other Super Bowl, that kind of takes away a lot of the pool.
Really?
So-
When's the
Yeah,
last
Bill
time Bill Belichick won a
Belichick,
Super
Andy
Bowl?
Reid, Bruce Arians.
Anybody with Tom
Sean
Brady was winning the
McVay.
Super Bowl. That's,
Oh yeah,
do we
speaking of Belichick, I forgot to mention about the under in that the one from my big bucks, the Lions Patriots. I feel like that's gonna go under because Belichick they're gonna destroy Jared Goff. Everyone's like, oh, Jared Goff, he's a great quarterback for fantasy. Not this
so.
week. Not this week. They're gonna kill
I ain't
Detroit.
touching an under that involves the Lions.
Well, that's a risky one. Belichick is the master at making you play left-handed, though. He takes away your weapons. He makes you do something uncomfortable. So we'll see what happens. But
I see some people in my knockout pool. They made it this far through all this mess, and there's like I think 87% of the pool field is gone, of which I still have 2. Spencer has 1. But why would anybody this week take New England as your knockout pick?
Yeah, it might be Bailey Zappi.
I think they're going to win, but I don't know that I'm not taking them in knockout pools, but I do think they'll win.
I mean, Bailey Zappi. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Brian Hoyer's out, and I don't think Matt
of-
Jones will be ready. So I'm thinking it's Zappi, and it's like even
Probably
if
will be.
Detroit struggles, like I think it's going to be one of those ugly 13-10 kind of games.
No.
All right, we got to get out of here. Final
Right,
thoughts. Jim Derry, your final thought going into this football weekend.
Okay, my final thought is we're still trying to figure out the time. Mr. Duncan has some conflicts in the morning, so we're trying to get a time. But Datitude episode number 100 is going to be live on these same channels tomorrow morning. It is either going to be 8. I think it's going to be at 8:45. I think that's what we're going to end up settling on. So 8:45 tomorrow morning. Datitude episode number 100. Jeff Duncan roasting Larry Holder, Clyde Verdane are all going to be on. It's going to be a Duncan Holder reunion, just like the old days. I'm looking forward to it. If nothing else, to give my pal Larry some grief.
I'll listen. That'll be fantastic.
It'll be fun. It's going to be
I've
fun.
only met Larry once, but I'll do it. Spencer, the guru, your final thought.
Yeah, I'm ready for Sunday already, man. Going to be in the dome in person, covering the game. Really excited for that. So yeah, can't wait, and hopefully the Saints can cover the spread to keep the big bucks train going, and more importantly, keep their season afloat.
Bad news is, Spencer, you're going to have to sit next to me, and I'm going to give you grief on all your wrong picks.
By the way,
we're keeping receipts.
You're going to keep receipts. And I know Jim doesn't want to hear this, but they're going to put it on the Bayou Bets TikTok channel as Spencer gives Jim grief.
Oh, yeah.
TikTok from the Dome, Bayou Bets. You got to follow him. Bet.NOLA Twitter account. We'll let Jim handle Twitter, and Spencer can do TikTok. How's that sound?
That sounds like a great deal.
Jim will do that.
I'm the youngin in the group, so yeah.
But we will be keeping receipts. And my final thought is, go Mariners. God, it's been a long time. I was a senior in high school the last time we were in the playoffs. So if you hear screams emanating from Livingston Parish over the weekend, it's because the Mariners and the Blue Jays are playing one way or the other. So
I'm not even rooting against you, Zach. I'm not even rooting against you because I know how much it means. I've been there.
I will be in tears at some point over the weekend, either happy tears or sad tears. And then if they make it to Houston, I'll be going to Houston for a game. I don't know when, but I'll find a way.
I'll definitely root for you in that one.
Yeah, definitely.
I will find a way to make it to Houston for a game. Although I went there on my birthday, and it was the Mariners' worst loss of the season, so maybe I'm bad luck. But it was like 11-1. But I got to give it a shot, right? I got to give it a shot. All right, that's it for us. Go to NOLA.com/Caesars. Download the Caesars Sportsbook app if you haven't already. Enjoy the football and baseball this weekend. We will be back. Jim Derry with Datitude tomorrow morning. We think 8:45, but check it out in the morning. And then we'll be back by Bayou Bets 4 o'clock on Monday. For Spencer and Jim, I'm Zach Ewing. We'll see you then.